The culture of an organization is made up of people who share a common identity. The culture is important to develop the organization, to make it what it is, and to bring it to its potential. So that's why having the right culture is important. But you can't influence the culture without understanding the culture first. So how to change it is to understand them, and to understand them you need to get to know the people, their values, and their language. So we'll focus on the values for a second. And from the book Organizational Behavior, they talk about values. Instrumental values represent those values concerning the way we approach end states. That is, do we believe in ambition, cleanliness, honesty, or obedience? What factors guide your everyday behavior? Terminal values, on the other hand, are those end state goals that we prize. Included here are such things as a comfortable life, a sense of accomplishment, equality among all people, and so forth. Both sets of values have significant influence on everyday behavior at work. End quote. So as we choose which of these values we want in our organization, as leaders we can choose these values. So the values are important as they give us the goal of what culture we would like to have. As the culture is influenced by the leaders, the genders, the ethnicity, and the management, we try to help the culture steer towards the values of the organization so it can reach its full potential. So as you think about the values and which type of values you want, don't forget to focus on how to apply these values. Like I said, if you focus on the management, how you're teaching, or through your example, maybe the personalities that are developed by their gender, their ethnicity, as you focus on these people, you'll be able to know their culture and change it to become the culture that you would like it to become. So Charles Handy was a philosopher from Ireland. He gave a theory of organizations having one of four cultures, of which we'll focus on here. So there are four main ones he touched on that are pretty widely accepted: power cultures, task cultures, person cultures, and role cultures. The first one that we'll talk about is the power culture, where the few people that are given power have the authority to make the decisions. They're the important ones and they delegate responsibility. Employees with little say follow their leaders and they can't share their views. This is actually found pretty often in companies that follow the classical theory approach, which is where a company works like a machine. They have a lot of reliable resources that come out on time, or yeah, it's very reliable, but they don't change very much. And in most cases for the power culture, it leads to employee dissatisfaction and favoritism. Not always with a classical theory approach, but that's just an example. The second culture is a task culture. Task culture is a culture divided in teams to achieve targets. Teams are formed from specialties and interests, and everyone gives work equally to innovate. That one tends to work a lot better with happier employees. The third one is a person culture. It involves employees putting themselves above the organization. The employees are in the organization for themselves. They often focus on money and don't focus on being part of the company. They just do their own thing. They rarely are loyal and don't do the best for the company, but what's best for themselves. Which often leads to dissatisfaction for the leaders. And in the role culture, as you can see in the background here, everyone has their own gear and they're working together to make this symbolic machine work. And so the role culture, you're delegated responsibility according to what you're good at. It shows the best of each employee or the member's knowledge. They're willing to work and they're accountable for their section. Their power comes with responsibility. This one's way more effective. Everyone generally is pretty happy to be there. There's in Netflix is a great example of this one, where people are divided into what they're good at, and then they nominate team captains for their specific decisions. Everyone has their specialty, and when you're in your specialty, they have a team captain, and they don't need to go to a leader to ask for permission to do things. They have that responsibility and the power to make that decision, to make the gears turn as they were hired for that. That one usually works a lot more effectively. So, as you think about which type of culture you want, and whether you want a power culture that would be the most effective for your organization, or if you would like a more of a role culture, think about the values that you would like to help develop it to be the culture that you want it to be. So, some of the values here are at the heart of organizations. Cultures are commonly shared values. Not all are necessary, just a good place to start. Types of values to boost the culture and lead to a positive role-like culture focus on these 7 things here. So an outcome orientation value would be emphasizing achievements and results. People orientation is insisting on fairness, tolerance, and respect for the individual. Team orientation is emphasizing and rewarding the collaboration. Attention to detail is valuing precision, approaching situations and problems analytically. Stability is providing security and following a predictable course. And then innovation, encouraging experimentation and risk-taking. And then aggressiveness is stimulating a fierce competitive spirit. So these are 7 values that you might potentially want to add to your organization to make it what it is. John Kotter, though, talked about how to change. So if you choose some of those values that might help to make your culture more of a role culture, or the culture that you would like it to be, you would need to change it from whatever it was before as you get to know your people. And so John Kotter studies all about leading change. He wrote the book Leading Change, and he's a professor in organizational science and change management at Harvard University. John Kotter came up with the 8-step process for leading change and the 6 change approaches model. And at the Works Cited page, you can find the website to find more about the 6 change approaches model. But for now, we'll just focus on the 8-step process for leading change. He says, first, to create a sense of urgency. So you need to help other people see their need for change. Then build a guiding coalition. This needs a group of people, of effective people, to take charge, to coordinate and communicate. Then you need to form a strategic vision and initiatives. So that can be done by clarifying how the future can be different than the past with the initiatives. And then enlist a volunteer army. Basically, you just need a large group of people on the same page to help influence the rest. Next, you're going to enable action by removing a barrier. So get rid of any inefficient practices. Generate short-term wins. So track your progress and recognize results. Next, you're going to sustain acceleration. For this, you want to continue initiating more and more changes after the first one. It's kind of similar to the next one, institute change. So keep up change till it replaces old habits. As you focus on change and how to change constantly, that change is part of the culture. That would be important because a lot of the time people get very comfortable with what they're used to. And so teaching them that change is going to be a constant thing, and the culture will help it innovate and become what you would like it to be whenever the culture changes from your values. John Kotter said that tradition is a very powerful source. So like I said, people get comfortable in the same thing every day. So learning to help them change will allow the culture to reach its potential, the organization to reach its potential. He says we're always creating new tools and techniques to help people, but the fundamental framework is remarkably resilient, which means it must have something to do with the nature of organizations or human nature. So this sums up his 8 points and why they're important. We need to focus on the culture or nature of the organization in order to keep up with the changes that we hope to enforce. So, as you study about cultures and organizations, keep in mind how to influence them so they can reach their potential. Look to the examples of John Kotter and Charles Handy so you can help your organization, or or maybe if you're listening to this for school, for class, that that it would help to remember how cultures develop and how to influence them. Or as you are preparing for leadership in the future, you can use these ways to positively develop your culture to reach the values that you would like it to become. Thank you.